Wonderful, wonderful colorized dies, namely Winston. Now, who is Winston? Let's take a look, shall we? How about this one, for example? Now, this is Winston in the center, is this lovely snowman, and we have used some of Tim's other dies from his Chapter 3 collection, like the scribbly snowflakes or these wonderful, wonderful festive phrases as well. Now, this one's been done in quite a monochromatic color palette, and I've taken card not just from our main cardstock pack, as you can see with the pinks, but we've also taken some from the botanical, some from the festive pack, and some from our neutrals. Now let's have a look at him in glorious Technicolor. And this one, now you can see we've got an impresslit die in the background there. There's Snowflake, that's a 3D impresslit. And this guy, he's been done by using distress inks. Now you can see a very different vibe going on there. So the distress inks, of course, I ink the card and then I die cut it afterwards once it's dried. And then thirdly, how about this one? Now this one is just using different layering of cardstock. And again, a variety of cardstock from different packs. I apologize for this awful pun, walking in a Winston. Well, no, actually, I don't apologise. I was quite proud of myself when I came up with that. But for those of you who don't know anything about Colorize, how it works, what the concept is, let me just take you through it. Now, what I've done here, I've got a piece of cut, and I'm going to show you how it works, because basically, there's layer number one. Now, I've used a sort of an off-white cardstock that is from the botanical set, and you can see the die that's cut it actually has these marks etched into it. Now that's very important when you come to layer the next die cut. And on the back, it does say white number one. So there are two whites. It could be cream, it could be whatever you want. But this gives you an indication of where you need to go and how you need to layer it. But of course, you choose the colors that you want. Then next up, let's take layer number two. So I put these on acetate to save a little time for you. So there we go. So we've got the light and we've got the shadow. Then next, the base of the scarf. Again, this one is in cream. And then this lovely rich deep red, which comes from our festive cardstock pack, comes next. That goes on top of the cream. Then the next layer, this one again is the other red from our festive cardstock. And this one is from our 20 pack set of cardstock. So we've got three reds going on there, so it's given a lot of depth. Now let's add a little bit of detail, shall we? It really starts to come alive when we add the eyes and the buttons in there. You can see we've got some extra detail on the broom, and then last but not least, that lovely sprig of holly for the hat, a bit more detail for the broom, and finally his carrot nose. So that is the concept behind it. It's almost like painting by numbers with cards. So let's put that together for just a second, because I've pre-cut everything practically, but I'm going to bring in my big shot and I'm going to do the first layer. So we're working on top of the platform, on top of the wafer thin die adapter. And let's cut this first layer, which is white number one, which is where we started earlier. And I'll run that through like so. Pop it out the other end, and the marks that were on the die have actually transferred to the card, so it's very subtle, but it's there nonetheless, and that will inform me as to where to layer up my next die. So let's just pop that to one side, and I pre-cut all the pieces. So here they are, ready to go. Now, you can use adhesive sheets. If you find that easier, use the adhesive sheets, simply peel off the backing, and you're good to go. Now let's take some of this lovely, this is Sizzix Express glue, incidentally, and the way that I like to use it is by scribbling onto my craft mat like that. Of course, we'll need a good pair of tweezers, and in my humble opinion, none better than these lovely Sizzix tweezers. And I'm going to dip that into the glue before applying it carefully, making sure that I get it in exactly the right place. As I said, that is easy because the marks are in there already. So we'll pop that down, make sure it's in place. So already it's starting to take shape. Then I'll take my scarf place that, and again, so the subsequent layer has all the marks on it ready to go. Then you'll notice here I've left those free so that we're creating a little bit of extra depth, and I'm going to do again. I'm going to take my tweezers and I'm just going to curl those lovely tassels up like that so I don't get any glue on them. Then that's our deep red layer. So that was in place. Love that colour, really love that colour. And then the next layer of red. So this is a bit fresher, a bit brighter. And then we ensure that we get all that detail in place. So it's so easy to do, but it's so lovely. It's such a lovely, enjoyable process. And the effect that you get, as you've seen already, is quite staggering, for which I don't take any of the credit. We'll have to thank Tim for that, as we like to do. Now, there's the body, there's the scarf. We're all good to go now. This grey from our lovely neutral cardstock. What I'm going to do, let's make another little scribble there. And I'll take the black part of the hat, pop that in there, and then layer this down again carefully, following the contours which have been embossed into that grey layer. Then I'll take my holly, and I'm going to just use my fingertips this time to curl these back slightly and just get a little bit of glue in the centre. So I'll have my sprig of holly just coming off the end there. Then these guys, the berries, they were actually cut at the same time as the scarf because they are on the same die, so you don't have to go back and recut these. You can cut all the layers of red at the same time. So there are my wonderful holly berries, and I'll pop a bit of glue on there, and that's in place. Now the base of the hat, I'm just going to scrape that through the glue and pop it in place. Thus, there we are. Now, time to take the broom. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to stick the first layer of detail down in place onto that broom. And the second layer, this time I've actually cut it from the same shade. But to get the sense of depth, again, I'm going to curl these back just with the edge of my tweezers like that. There we are. We'll take the glue, just pop it in the center. And there we have it. So that depth, that bit of curling, that really does pay dividends. And I'm going to do the same. This is the twine that would connect them together. And that's going to sit something like that. Now, the broom itself, I'm going to push the handle of the broom through my glue. And I'm going to attach it in place. Something like that. You need to be careful that this broom doesn't go too far down, especially if you're going to stand him up, because we can do that. We can do that. Now, wouldn't be a snowman without a carrot nose. So let's take these die cuts again. I've taken two oranges from different cardstock packs. I'll layer those together. A little bit of glue, and let's get some on the tip of his nose as well. And that is carefully in place. And now we'll take some eyes and some buttons. And again, I know where they're going to go because it's all done for me. And those little marks, those embossed marks are there, informing me exactly how and where to place these different die cuts. So then finally the buttons, which we used to do in coal back in the day, but coal was more readily available then. We don't see coal fires so much these days, which is a shame at Christmas time, because there's nothing like a crackling fire during the festive season to fall asleep in front of after your lunch. And there we have it. Now, that's Winston, all layered up, ready to go. But what are we going to do with it? Well, folks, we've got a little treat for you, because Because I've got a piece of card here. All right, this is just the cream card, the same cream card that we used to create our lovely snowman. And I'm just tearing away the top and the base, and I pre-folded this. So what we're going to do is create a pop-up, and the best way, the simplest way to create a pop-up is to make a cut there and there like that. Normally I would measure this out, but today, just to speed things up a little, I'm going to do it like that. So I fold it back and forth. Then when I open it up, we have that. And that's the pop-up mechanism. That's the center. That's the simplest pop-up that you can create. Now, what I want to do here is place, and I'm using my permanent adhesive tape roller. This is a Sizzix product, as you can probably tell, because it matches beautifully with my tweezers and my scissors. Now, if we look at the center of the card, again, these festive words, that lovely snowflake, the 3D impressed snowflake. I'm just going to pop this into the center, making sure the edges line up, and close that. Now, then I shall take my adhesive tape roller again, making sure I get plenty on there, and close it up thus. Now, there you go. There's my pop-up center. And then finally, now you can use, if you prefer, you can use a hot glue gun for this, because you know it's going to stand the rigors of our wonderful postal service. Then I'm going to place Winston in here like that and close that up. Finally, so you have to make sure that the length of the card actually covers the snowman himself. And how about that? Simple, effective, lovely colors. Again, now the snowflakes and this here, they were just cut from black card, and I used the Sizzix Luster Wax from our effects range to just rub over the top and get that kind of opulence that we love so much. And there we have it. So there's Winston in pop-up form. There's Winston. So that's the same kind of vibe going on, but just a slightly different look. Then there's Winston created with distress inks, and finally the more monochromatic one using greens and blues and a bit of pink in the background. It just screams Christmas to me. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I hope that you enjoyed that as much as I did. Always love working with the Colorize Dies. Gift that keeps on giving, and thank you to Tim for giving us the gift of his creativity. Now, if you want to see more about Winston and some of the other Colorize Dies in the range and all of Tim's Christmas collection, then why not pop along to Tim's website, timholtz.com, because you'll see some wonderful examples from his makers. Really cool stuff. But if you want to see more from us, go to sizzix.co.uk, or if you're in the US, sizzix.com. Thank you for joining me today. I'll see you again soon.